That's about the last joking we get here until the end of the season. But no, it's exciting. As you all know, we're headed out of here today to Platteville, and no, I have not been to Platteville yet, in case you're wondering. So I kind of told the coaches, none of them, I don't believe, have been there either. So there could be some ability to improvise and adapt and adjust a little bit. So we're excited, though. More than anything, for me, getting away a little bit, I think, is really key. And it's not like the end-all, be-all, but to kind of start something, get away for a little bit, just kind of minds and get them really, not just the players. Sometimes everybody thinks you get away to get the players focused. I think for us as well as coaches, not that we can't be focused here, but just the ability for new staff to kind of be together, to do everything together. It's unique, and I've really enjoyed it the last few years. Not something somebody was like, "Are you going to miss the time that you spent where you guys were before?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not sure that I say I'd really miss it, but I understand the necessities of it. And I think the things it does for us as an entire group and team, I think, are really critical." So it's an exciting time for all us as coaches as well. So we'll head out of here later today. And have it tonight and get rolling in the morning. I think everybody pretty much knows our practices are open for the most part. I mean, like, serious. I'm not one of those guys that say, "Hey, cut them off." I don't want them seeing things like, maybe a very few times that they close down practices of some sorts. But really want the opportunity for everybody to be out there, for our fans, for our former players, and everybody to get a glimpse at what it is we're doing. Saturdays will come. We're not hiding a whole lot of things for Saturdays. Now when Coach Longo comes up here, he may be a little bit different in some of the things that they like to hide, but I don't feel like there's a whole lot to hide. And our excitement is a part of it. So.
We've got microphones on each side of the room. If you can fly it down if you've got a question.
I think we can probably hear you.
You talk about the benefits of getting away from it all. From your experience in Cincinnati, what specifically do you think were the ways y'all benefited from getting away from the start of training camp? And also, I didn't know if you had any second thoughts or did you change your approach at all on what you're going to do at Platteville after the allegations with Northwestern and Kenosha and them canceling there?
I think we've always had a really good plan. I think the uniqueness of being away for me is the time to spend with guys. It's not the time to be apart. I think the uniqueness for us in general, we've been away, obviously 6 years at Cincinnati, and we're away the whole time. I think the uniqueness is you're always with the guys, So I think it gives you a better grasp of even getting to know them and spending more time with them. There aren't those limitations as far as hours when you're in camp, right? And it's not like we want to keep them the whole time, but just the ability to share, to be around, even outside of just the football stuff. Like, you'll sit in the in the meal room or the snack room at night and talk with your guys and hang with your guys. And I think there's just a lot of more opportunities for us to get to know each other outside of even these walls. Because inside these walls, obviously we're at camp, it'll be football, but I think that there's some uniqueness to it as well. So I think for the focus for everybody, I know for me as a coach, it kind of gets me back into the mode, right? I'm not old enough that I can't go home and still stay focused and come in the next morning, but there's just a little bit of something for me of going away, that there's an anxiety. Like, I didn't sleep well last night. There's an anxiety, but I think anxiety for me is good. It's a motivator. It's what's kind of happening, what's going to come down the path the next 20 some days. And for me, it's something that's a preparation.
Mike in the back.
Coach, we've talked about the excitement level around the Badger program with you coming in. Now that it's, season starts soon and fall camp begins tomorrow, are you just as jacked as the fans are and the administration and former players and things like that?
Well, I don't know them exactly, and I don't know exactly how they feel. I try to hide about the last 2 weeks. I try not to go out and be around a whole lot as things start to change. But definitely. I mean, like I told you, I couldn't, honestly, I'm not kidding, I couldn't sleep last night. Maybe some other reasons why. But going away and just kind of shifting that mode for me is critical. And, getting away, sometimes you can control your emotions as well, right? You don't hear all the different things. You kind of just get locked into the things that you're doing. with your team and all the things that are other than the things that are around you. So, we'll be able to transition when we come back to campus to feel some of the excitement, to see a little bit more of the excitement. We'll have to handle that. I think, but first and foremost is we all are excited. We all understand, what the next step that we're taking here, and we haven't done it together. Whether it's us as coaches, obviously us with all these players. So you can feel there's definitely a little bit of a different buzz, even within these walls.
Sure.
Is this roster set? Is your roster set to?
No, I think that there's reasons why, as you go through camp, there's things that always continue to adjust. I don't think there'd be anybody else coming in. They changed the rule that you can bring 120 guys to camp. Now you don't really have any of those guys that are still kind of hanging out there. In the past, when you're at 110, usually there's 10 guys or so that are, kind of on the bubble, and they don't take them to camp. And then if somebody gets hurt, you can bring them back in. But with them growing to 120, you pretty much, we're at 125 or something, but you got guys that are injured, so they can still be there. So there's not a whole lot of flexibility. We can take everybody with us.
Were you a proponent of that 120?
I wasn't one that was pounding the table by any means, to be honest with you. The first time I actually talked to the commissioner was at media day, and someone I was with had said, hey, thank you for getting that thing bumped to 120. And he asked me, he's like, well, what do you think of it? I said, oh, that's great. I mean, I'm all for it, but I think it's more important as you go forward to change the fact of what our travel number is. I don't know why, and we'd get off on a tangent, but I don't know why we would limit ourselves on a travel number when we really want to take care of our kids. You know what I mean? Travel with 80-some, it doesn't matter. Leaving guys back home is always the most difficult thing. Just like in camp, leaving the kids some of the guys that have worked their butt off all summer and they can't go to camp is a tough thing. But I wasn't making phone calls or sending emails trying to get anything really changed.
Carly, in the back.
Specifically with implementing a new offense, what do you hope to see from the offense by the end of camp?
Well, I think whether you say it offensively, whether you say it defensively, there's ability to play together that we have to continue to grow. I'll kind of talk to the guys a little bit about this today, that, I think that we've done a pretty good job at coming together. That's what you do in the winter, and a lot of us were new. A lot of things were different. Then you get to the spring and you start to see about how you can play together, but it's still a bit different. So fall camp is really going to see how will we play together, how will we compete together, because it's different. Spring competition is a little bit, I'm going to say it's competition, it's fun, it's joking. As you get into this, the competition is about winning ball games and knowing what you're going to. So creates some more anxieties and some human elements, and then ultimately the real key is going to be staying together. And we'll have, obviously adversity through fall camp, but not the real adversity. So I think that I'm not as worried about how well we'll play together. It's going to be, how well can we continue to push through all the different adversities and stay together throughout this entire season.
Luke, how do you view your role as kind of spokesperson for this program? Because throughout the summer you did some podcasts or different shows, putting yourself out there with the new energy, the new face of this program. So how do you kind of view that role and what it means to your job?
He makes me do all those things. Otherwise, I would stay in here under the rock and just stay in the office. They need to remind me at times, and then I'm reminded when I meet a former player. Go out to California to do a little fundraising or something, and then you meet some of the former players out there, and they talk about how they follow the program via social media and all the different things. And then I have a great reminder of why you do some of these things and why it's really, really important to not just for your program, but also for the guys. So I realize how important those things are to continuing to not just generate energy, but making sure people, especially those former guys and guys that don't live around here, can get a good glimpse into the program. Because to be honest, if it was me, you're right, we wouldn't do media days. We wouldn't do. I mean, I'd say, well, Saturday you'll see what it's all about, and I know that's not the way of the world, but it's just the nature of it. So I grow too. I get mad at him sometimes, but we're all learning here.
Coach, when you talk about setting your roster, getting these guys ready, what's more important to you, technique or attitude?
I don't know if you can say which. I mean, attitude has a lot to do with everything that we do. It's the number one core value or culture of our program, with effort and attitude. But I know this, that in order to be successful and what travels everywhere you go, it's fundamentals. We say effort and fundamentals travel everywhere, whether it's this year, next year, the guys that go on to play in the NFL or my guys that are going to play in high school. Those things travel everywhere you go. So I don't know if you can separate the two and say which one is more important. I know if you want to be successful in this game or you want to be successful in anything, you better have an incredible attitude and you better be fundamentally sound, because at some point in time that adversity is going to hit and you're going to see what you're made of.
Lance, sorry.
Luke, sometimes the preseason is the silly season because no games have been played, so people just kind of pull stuff out of thin air. You're picked to win the West. Do you like that, or would you rather be the underdog or fly under the radar and keep your feet set here?
I didn't see that. All I saw were the four guys from the Big Ten, and I could pull it up on my phone if you want. And none of them had us picked. So I don't know where else. He tried to tell me something about maybe something like that before we went to media day, but the reality is after media day, all I saw was that we weren't from the four guys. So that's kind of where I hang my hat on. And we know it's once today gets rolling, once we wake up tomorrow morning and you go to practice, like all those things do kind of go by the wayside. But I'd like to savor the ones that continue to motivate you on a daily basis. But I never have gotten into it too much, to be honest with you. But I also don't know our team as well, right? I've only been here for 8 months. We haven't been through the wars and the fires and the things together. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. How well do we stay together based on, do you believe what you read? Do you believe what other people are telling you? Or can you focus in on the things that we need to do and trust and believe the things that the people within these walls are telling us? And so it is what it is. I'd rather obviously have an opportunity to, the skill set that people think, hey, you got a chance. But ultimately, we've got to have the mindset that, we've got a long way to go.
Luke, you talk about the adversity hitting at some point in the season or multiple points in the season. Do you try to create that in camp, or does it need to come in the season? Does it need to be in the games through that grind?
Yeah, going away has a part of that too. Just everything we don't have to try to create it as much in camp. You have to try in spring ball when you're practicing, every other day and 3 days a week, and it's a little bit different by nature. When you're practicing every single day, when you've got 20-some practices in 28 days or whatever it is, adversity is created. But that's what it is. That's where we, every practice is finding ways to create those adverse situations. There's a lot of things that'll change on that practice script based on how practice is going, maybe, right? Where the ball goes down, defense is doing really well. All of a sudden, the ball goes down on the 12-yard line. The offense is doing really well. All of a sudden, they got the ball in their own 10. Just things like that to continue to fight adverse situations based on how things are going. But by nature, that's the great thing of camp. It creates it. This game creates it when you go to camp as much as anything. It's a little harder in the spring. That's what we do all winter. But this time is not, you don't have to manufacture quite as much.
Jake, on the right.
Luke, one of your players, obviously you've gotten to know so far is Hunter Wohler. Just when he's on the field and from what you've seen in the spring, just what does he bring to the defense that maybe others don't?
Well, I think it starts with Hunter leadership-wise. As I get to know him, the well-roundedness, it is true. It is, and so from what I've seen, obviously a really good football player. But I think the things off the field, the things that he brings to this entire program, I think are far outweigh even his ability to play. I think he's been limited. I think obviously he broke his leg early in the season last year. Didn't get to see him much even in the bowl practice because he was hurt, and then all of a sudden he plays really well. Good fortune to see him all spring. There's a lot of opportunities. I think that the uniqueness for him is just instinctually playing the game. I'm not going to say he's the best, but he's as good as I've seen, just natural instincts at playing the game, understanding where the ball is, angles and things like that, I think he brings a lot. I think the biggest thing for us and to do with him is to make sure we don't give him too much. We have this expectation and the things that he can handle. but we've got to put him in a position where he can be himself. He can do the things as opposed to using him too much. So big things, I think, but leadership is as much as anything, I think, where we got to have him out there.
Zach, in the back.
Luke, you talked about the importance of having your team build that bond together. How does Platteville kind of kick that off, and then how do you stress that, throughout fall camp?
We hope being away does it. We hope being in a different environment. We hope not going back to your own apartments, but going back to a dorm and hanging out in the meal room, just because you don't have a lot of other things. Just by nature does that. You by nature get to know more about each other. So I think there's some uniqueness in the things that we try to create, but I think it starts at the top, and I think that they will watch and they will see the way we handle everything. And I mean that from me to Coach Longo, to Coach Tressel, to Devin Spalding, who's got a room that's, with two really, really, really good football players, and there's only one ball, and how many times do they get? How we handle those things, how we handle them together, will be every bit as big of an example to them as they are to one another. And so I put it solely on myself to start it, to be the example, not just by what you say, but the actions that you have all the time.
Cool.
Look, you have this entirely new coaching staff, and obviously you got in the field with them in the spring, but did you guys do anything in the summer to build some of the bonds between yourselves as a staff?
I mean, we spend a lot of time together, so I think there's some, by nature, some uniqueness to it, but not as much. I mean, we didn't go away. We had our own little, we kind of have clinic the whole day on Sunday where we really kind of hone in and have guys get up and teach each other, just so that you can watch and see and get a better grasp and understand what everybody's objectives are from their unit and then from their side of the ball, and me included. So I don't know that makes us closer, but obviously as you see and hear some of those things, you get a better grasp of what everybody has to deal with, right? Sometimes we just get into our own little world, and then you actually get a guy up there and talk about his group and the things and the objectives, and then they realize, okay, we're all dealing with these separate things or different things within our own group. But I think more than anything, just the ability to, from the top down, respect each other, understand that we all have a job to do, we all want to win, but we got to do what's best for each other first and foremost.
Mike, in the back.
Coach, I'm wondering if you've picked out a roommate for your dorm yet? And, are you going to do lofts? Are you
I haven't been there yet, so I'm going to go out in there and see if we can actually stack the beds. And it's a crapshoot. So we're going to show up, and they're going to give you a little card, and you don't know who your roommate is yet. So I think, don't anybody tell anybody, I think I actually have one by myself. So I don't know that for a fact. And like I said, we can improvise and adapt and adjust. And so if there is somebody in there, they may be having to move into the foyer or something. I don't know. So no, but it is, in my experience, has been unique, and I'm excited about it.
Coach, when y'all take on Buffalo to start the season, it's going to be the first time Wisconsin's played Buffalo since 2006. Do you have any memories of 2006?
2007. I'm a defensive lineman, man. I've been hit way too many times to think back that far. No. Is there something I should remember from 2006? Okay, I thought you were going to pull something up. No. To be honest with you, the great thing for us, it's about preparing to win football games, but it still starts off with us.
Actually, I think Ohio State won the Big Ten championship that year.
No, we did play Buffalo one year, and if I could tell you one story, we were trying to work on screens for some reason, and so we got our offense to run a bunch of screens. And so then they all of a sudden started to like the screens, and it was the game against Buffalo. And sure enough, in the game against Buffalo, they threw a screen. A guy named Khalil Mack jumped up, picked it off, and ran it back for a touchdown. And they were like mad at me or us on defense, like, you guys had us work on all these screens, and now we just gave up a touchdown on it. But that's all I remember.
Lance?
Luke, Jocko and I are selfishly interested in your thoughts on the NBC schedule, since we get a little taste of this college football action. Just what do you think of getting that much respect or whatever for 3 games?
I don't know that I knew that. That's new. So I honestly, goodness, I know our first 3 games. I just found out that our 4th game, obviously, is the opening of the Big Ten season. And then I've been told too many times about the game that's, I think, in Halloween. So I don't study exactly what it is and when and who. I know that, we've worked on Minnesota, we've worked on Iowa in general because of the rivalries. I just think it's a great thing no matter what. The ability to spread, throughout every, everything on college football, right? I mean, to be on all the stations, I think is unique. I think that for the Big Ten in general, I think that you see and understand why we're at the forefront of what it is that we're doing. I'd be curious to know what's going to be different, right? I mean, I know this. We went to the Big Ten Media Day, and you probably had to do 3 or 4 more stops because of the other broadcasting crews that needed their time to interview and do their little things as well. I think all in all, like I've always said, people asked about game times and different things. I think it's great for our programs. It's great for our kids. As long as we don't get too much into it, right? We have a night game or we have a new thing, then the whole week you're spent on doing too much of that stuff. So I just think for all in all, I think it's great for the Big Ten. I think it's great for college football. I think it's great for our future.
Jake?
Luke, I know you can't talk about any of the recruits that were in town this past weekend, but there was a recruiting event of sorts. With the season being, preseason camp being so close, but then trying to keep up maybe with other programs that are doing similar things, late July timeframe before camp. How do you reconcile trying to give the staff some more time to maybe time to really spend a lot of good quality time with family, with also trying to keep up with college football recruiting?
Well, I don't think we ever try to keep up. We know what we need to do for our program, and recruiting is at the forefront of it. So any of those opportunities we can take to continue to build those things, it's really, really important to us. And so we make sure our coaches understand that. We know that today is the day we report and we leave, and there's obviously an incredible amount of preparation up for it. But there's a balance. We kind of had scripted our whole summer based on when we were going to be back, how much time we were going to have to prepare to leave, but also to make sure that we had time for our recruiting. And so it was figured in from the very get-go. Our guys understand. I think that's a uniqueness. We haven't been together as a staff, but it didn't take long as we all came together to make sure we all understand how important recruiting is, right? I mean, I know that Coach Tressel does an incredible job and incredible schemes defensively, and Coach Longo with this incredible, but like those things don't really win football games, right? It's players that give us the opportunity. So I think we're all on the same page, and we all kind of knew coming back that it was going to be a chance for us to kind of shift gears a little bit. And that's the great thing about college football, right? I mean, every week we'll be preparing for games, but it doesn't mean we don't do recruiting every week. It's not, it's nothing different.
Got time for a couple more. Todd on the side.
Luke, when you're building a staff, and I'm talking about the staff beyond your coaching staff, but the football staff in general, how critical is it for you to have people you can trust kind of guiding that process and putting people in places you need them to be as you're going through the year?
I think you're seeing even more so in college football, NFL football, whatever, high school football. I mean, I think in general, people are always like, well, that guy got with somebody because he knows them, and he knows them. And it's true, right? I think it's becoming so much more important. And we've been brought up about the things that have gone on in college football today and the amount of, responsibility that you have for 120-some guys, and to have people that you can trust. And I'm not saying that you don't trust somebody, but to have people that you've got some relationships with, for me as a head coach, is really critical, because I need people that can come and talk to you. I need people that aren't afraid to come and tell you some things, your shortcomings, or see things, and I call them the noticers, right? And I think you can get into a position where at some point in time you've got people around you that maybe don't and can't and don't feel like they, maybe can come and address some of those things. So for me, I've only been doing it for 6 years, right? This is year 7 as a head coach, and the ability to put a staff together. And I've recognized, that if you don't have some of those guys that you truly, truly have got a relationship with, trust, have gone through some things with, that can come in and, kind of tell you some of those things, whether it's something on the field, something off the field, something within your program, it's really critical. And I don't think it's going to be anything different as as this thing continues to grow as a big business, but if you don't know a whole lot of people, I think it makes it difficult, right? As you build those, not you can't build those relationships, but when you've got some guys with a history, I think it's really, really different. And fortunate enough, I think we've got 5 guys, and these are younger guys on the staff, but even they have a different place in what it is that we do. 5 guys that have played for me, or I have coached, and to me, that's a big deal.
Anything else for Coach?
One more.
Steve?
You also did a good job of restocking your receiving room through the transfer portal. I was just wondering, what was your sales pitch to them? How much you kind of had to sell them on Wisconsin being a place that was attractive to wideouts with the reputation the school has as being kind of a run-oriented program?
Well, I think the uniqueness of that, obviously, once Coach Longo was hired, and the vision of where we were going, it changing and adapting a little bit, that made it that much more intriguing, that much more interesting to the wide receiver in particular, right? But it's still something that you're selling. So I think the uniqueness, even in the winter, of getting guys to come to campus, and then once they are on campus, I think that was, something that sold itself, even though it was January. But then, a couple of the other ones that were wide receivers in particular came, I had obviously a relationship with, had coached them for a year or two. And so I think that combination of things, of trusting and believing in you as a person and as a coach, combined with, okay, there's a uniqueness here that, that there are opportunities that may be different than a lot of other places. So I think the combination of those things, gave us an opportunity to, I'd say, kind of beef up and add some guys into that room in particular.